Okay, first of all, I'm not trying to force anybody to. The problem is sometimes when we learn, especially in this halacha tarivus, kulanu, we all sometimes are baffled by the seemingly not different. Basically, things that are very different than what we are used to, and we see that the halacha says things about the reality, about how things work, about how pots work, how heat works, how taste works. That seems very, very weird to us. Why anybody with a brain would say something like that? Now,
against the materials, what?
זה שאלה אחרת. אני לא נכנס עכשיו I'm not coming to argue who's right and who's wrong. I'm not coming.
Anybody with a brain will agree.
No. The question is just, again, we understand things to be a certain way, and sometimes it's hard for us to understand why would somebody that was l'choire. Now, I'm not trying to argue this if this is true or not, but l'choire, they were humans just like us. And they also had brains, they were also smart people, intelligent people, and they said things that seem very weird to us, based on the way we understand things. And the shala is, why would they say such things? And I think I have a certain explanation, a certain understanding that we can use to understand why they said it, and then we can make a different chabira to see what we should do about it once we understand why they said it, and maybe we think they're wrong and all that. But we just want to make sense of them according to them. So basically, first I'm going to give you an example of where we do sort of the opposite thing. So do in Hilches Nideh, there's a halacha that if a woman goes to the mikveh and her husband isn't home that night, that she should put a knife under her pillow.
A what?
A knife under the pillow.
Before?
If a woman goes to the mikveh and her husband isn't in town, she should go to sleep with a knife.
Shvis Yankiv, Simenain Zayin. You said, yeah? Three things, it's two things.
Said it. And in Yechshav and
What?
this.
It's not matched by
No, the Shulchan
Not
is
Shulchan Aruch.
Well, it's only because you're a Chassidish.
Yeah, but this is only
all these Chassidish.
No, all I'm doing is I'm trying to.
What? Correct.
I'm just trying to illustrate a certain point about how we think about things and how the limits of our understanding. How let me just say this and then maybe I'll explain what's going on. It's not Mishnah. I'm talking about the fact that this as a halacha, call it that, whatever it is, as a thing that you should put a knife under the pillow. And now we have poskim these days that say if you.
Why? Don't put down Shulchan. The Shvis
Arav,
Yankiv.
that's not the point. There's a halacha. Okay, I'm going to
It's not a halacha. He says it's a halacha.
Put halacha in quotes. It's not the point. Please. Arav, listen, my friends. If you listen, maybe you'll hear what I said, and maybe you'll even understand. If we get really lucky. If you don't listen, you for sure won't understand. So allow me to explain, okay? There's a halacha, whatever you call it, halacha superstition. It's a thing that a woman. In English is thing. There's a thing that a woman's husband isn't home when she goes to the mikveh, should go to sleep.
Because the spook might start up with her. Yeah, it's a chash.
I didn't. Okay.
I'm just telling you. So
it's not the point.
Or to have a knife, or beged habalsh to cover help with the husband's beged, or to take a tinik with her. Then the shade you run away.
What you're doing now is explaining things. I'm not trying to explain things. I'm trying to say certain things.
It's an Indian. Yeah, but it's not a chiyuv, not a halacha. It's an Indian.
Lo mishnah what it is. There's the thing that you should put, and that if she wants to go to sleep without her husband, let's say if she's scared for whatever reason, we're not going into that now, she should go to sleep with a knife. Okay? Achshav, we come to 2024, there's a question, what type of knife do you need? Some paskim say, go to sleep, take a plastic knife, put it on your pillow, go to sleep. You won't cut yourself in the middle of the night, it's even better. And some paskim say, what do you mean? Plastic knife and a metal knife. And what's the machlok is? Basically, the way I understand it, some people say, look, it says shechnurich a knife. Shvis Yaakov, whatever, whoever says, they say a knife. I don't know anything. I don't know how it works, how do the spooks work, how do shaidim work, how do riches truas work, how do zivig work, and all that. But it says a knife is a knife, it's a plastic or metal. And the other people say, look, I don't know how it works. So maybe only plastic, maybe only metal, maybe it has to be a specific type of that. So they both say, they both can agree that they don't really understand it, but they can come to different conclusions, and it's very hard to argue one way or another, because we don't really know. Achshav, if someone's going to say, look, they must be wrong, because metal works. Now, if you know how it works, maybe some people here know how shaidim work and how they're scared of metal and not of plastic, then they have a good argument. If they don't know, then it's basically equally valid, and everybody just says like what seems more intuitively true to him. And kachazeh. So my point is just that to a certain extent, this was it's sort of the opposite in the case of Blias. Just imagine. Now, I'm not saying that this is true. I'm saying this is a way we could think of it that's going to make sense, that people could think a certain way. Imagine you, or a person that's living 1100 years ago, he doesn't have any concept of molecules and that all matter is really just open space with electromagnetic fields interacting with each other. As far as he's concerned, things are as they are. And he sees something interesting when he eats certain foods in a kaili, and then the next day he eats a different food. The food he eats on Monday tastes like the food from Sunday. Achshav, it's a seeming impossibility, right? Because the food is not there anymore. So the next day, Tuesday, he makes sure his plate is actually clean before he puts the food in, and he checks there's nothing there. And still the food from Tuesday tastes like the food from Monday. So it's basically seeming logical conclusion from this is that somehow the food went into the plate. We don't know how, we don't know why, we don't know where, but the food is in the plate and it's coming out. Whatever, this thing they call the blias. Now, anachnu, we are blessed or cursed that we know a lot more about how things work and what's inside and how these tiny, seemingly invisible. We see tiny little holes in the metal, and there's more room for very minuscule amounts of food to go in there, and then they come out. And that's that. And call them. We understand how heat works, and how heat is just energy transferring from one place to another, which is just molecules vibrating. And all these things give us a certain understanding. And those people not only didn't they know this, they had no way of knowing this. Now, if you're going to think, so now you understand that if you think of the whole blias as some unexplainable phenomena, you're going to be very mugbal and very limited in your ability to extrapolate from what things you know to the things that you don't know. But if you're going to come to a case where, for example, if you know that food touching a pot and somehow the taste goes into the pot, you have no reason to assume that it's only going to work from one side of the pot versus the other side of the pot. I learned the halacha of Tibas Chol Naflik Dair, and I'm like, why would anybody think that the food goes through the pot? But because I'm already thinking, based on all these previous conceptions, whether they're right or wrong is not the discussion now, about how the blias work, and according to my understanding, what?
Obviously it's right.
What's obviously right? Again, I specifically mentioned that I'm not discussing who's right and who's wrong. I'm just saying, to me, it seemed very weird. זה שאלה אחרת, וזה לא נידון עכשיו. באמת, זה לא נידון.
Hebrew University, it's debate. Biblical criticism, is he in the right? Is he
I'm not asking now who's right and who's wrong. I'm asking if anybody else, like me, had... אני רק מדבר למי שהיה לו את הבעיה הזאת, okay? If anybody here was troubled by why would the Shulchan Aruch, or whoever it was, say something which is seemingly wrong to us, that blias would go from one side of the path to another. I now explained why somebody, because they don't know what we know, would be perfectly logical and intellectually correct to at least say that we should be choshesh that the blias work from one side to another.
You don't have to listen to the show.
עכשיו, יש לנו, now whoever wants, we can start a new chabura about what we should do, about whether we should listen to Shulchan Aruch.
So the bottom line is that because we understand.
Now the Milt Tzedek is I'm going to leave you use this.
No, your line is.
I think you're just cousin what you said.
Yeah.
Because we nowadays understand.
I'm not saying because we're right and they're wrong. I'm saying because of the way we understand things, we don't understand how they even understand differently.
So
but if we can understand.
More decisive in
what they say.
Yeah, according to the way I'm saying it like this, we know very lot of things about things,
But they
and
didn't
how
know,
they didn't know, and therefore we can have certain understandings of where those things would apply and where they wouldn't, because we know the things behind those things.
what they said.
They said halacha. I'm not.
So now we're going to battle the halacha because the mitzvah is the opposite.
אם אנחנו אחרי שכולם מבינים
אז
מה
לא
שאמרתי,
אני רוצה
לא, אני לא דיברתי על זה, אני דיברתי למה. בהנחה שהם היו בני אדם כמוני וכמוך, והם חשבו כמוני וכמוך יחסית, אז איך הם הגיעו למסקנות לכאורה מנותקות מהמציאות. They're not arguing that that's the mitzvah. They're arguing what they had, and the kind of what they had, it would be logical to conclude that blias working that way.
Can we say that because we know the mitzvah is different to what they knew, that changes their halacha?
I didn't say anything about halacha. I didn't say anything about halacha, how the halacha is. I'm saying why
they based their halacha on the mitzvahs they knew.
I'm not talking about halacha now. I'm very specific. אני מדבר עכשיו על mitzvahs. They understood the mitzvahs to be...
They came to maskonos,
Right, so that's correct.
Nachon. But if we know the mitzvah is not like that, so why do we have to still listen to their wrong maskana in inverted commas. That's what I'm saying.
נכון.
I just want to say.
נכון, אבל זה לא הטענה שלי. I'm absolutely not coming to argue what we should do. I'm asking you, according to my understanding of reality and their understanding of reality, how they made sense of the world and that it's not stupid. That's it. Until now, it seems stupid to me, unfortunately. Now I understand it. So I just wanted to share this with anybody else that felt
Why
that.
they're not stupid? Because
No, because they had no way of knowing this, and based on what the things that they knew is one thing. They know food in a pot. The next day, the food is still in the pot, even though it's not there. How does it work? They don't know, right? We can assume so. Maybe it's a malach, maybe it's God, maybe there's
The sun goes around the world.
Yeah.
Why? Because they see that the sun in the morning's in the east, in the afternoon it's in the west. So we're in the middle, and the sun is moving around. Correct? I'm just trying to give it a dogma, yeah. But the Maisa, we know now it's the opposite, yeah. But what? Is that true what I'm saying? Hello, I just wanted to.
Sort of, yeah.
According to Einstein, relativity makes no difference. It's not true.
It just depends where you're standing, yeah.
You can't say one's giving out
Correct.
something
And
else.
I'm just saying that's a small example, yeah.
You want to do a meal service something?
Now I'm thinking that once we understand this, it wouldn't be so incongruous. The Mil Tzedek wouldn't be so weird. Because the Mil Tzedek, the next step is the thing with heat. We have a certain understanding of heat and how metal conducts heat and wood conducts heat less. But they didn't really have an understanding of that. They just knew the fact that there's some spoon, somehow the heat goes from here to here. It's like seeming magic. So by that same magic, maybe the blias could also go through, maybe not. But then you could say whatever you're going to say is going to make as much sense as anything else. Unlike us, that we.
Answer because it needs to be hard to take it out from the.
No, but it doesn't answer anything. It just explains that we.
Doesn't explain it for him also.
That's a separate question, but I think you can
You have to bring up
try to think this and.
here.
No, that Lana says, Mamash Lana says.
What?
No, what the halacha is a
No,
separate
Rav
discussion.